Welcome to the Altitude Show, everybody. This is Elevation Journal number 3, and I just got back from Salt Lake City at the Western Hunting Expo, where I was able to record a few podcasts and also see a bunch of friends, do some business. It was a very productive time, but as you can probably tell from my voice, I'm tired. Shows are absolutely exhausting. Back in the day when I was with Sitka Gear, there was one year I did over 10 shows, I think. I don't know how I did that, but I was a younger man. Now when I get back from these things, I just want to freaking crash. They're amazing. I mean, it's hard to call that work, but because you're just talking to like-minded people for basically from 7 in the morning until about however late you stay up. For me, never much later than midnight. Most of the time I'm in bed by 10:30, but you're talking to people all day. You got to be on the whole time. And as a, what do they call it? Am I an introverted extrovert? Yeah, I'm mostly introverted. I can turn on the extroversion, but it drains me. You could probably, if I was an iPhone, you could see my battery power draining from minute to minute at these things. But it was amazing. I sat down to see some episodes that will be coming up that I recorded there. Dr. Hillary Lampers, which I always love talking to her. In the past, we talked a lot about entrepreneurship. This episode we recorded at the show, we focused on health, which she's a naturopath, a health expert. It's really awesome. And then I had Mark Livesey, who owns Treeline Academy, and he's an expert on e-scouting. If you're a hunter, learning how to use the power of all the different maps that you have access to plan your season. But he's also a pretty impressive entrepreneur. And then let's see. On the last day I recorded an episode with Corey Jacobson, who's always a great chat. He's been a friend of mine for a long time. So I can't wait to get those out. The main reason I was there is I'm a part of Peaks Equipment. And we had a big booth there. It's our second year at the show. And man, we crushed it. We hit our sales goals at the show. We sold tons of stuff. Met lots of amazing people. Our brand has really flourished, and I'm pretty proud of it. Takes a lot to build a brand, but it's one of my favorite things to do. So we're going to keep doing that. All right, so on to this week. So I had Logan Mize on the podcast this week for the interviews section, and Logan Mize is a musician I've been listening to for several years. He's an independent musician, sort of independent musician, but kind of flies under the radar, even though he's getting millions and millions of streams on Spotify. But I don't know, I was playing golf one day and he popped up on my Spotify and I just really connected to his music. It's country. It's kind of Kansas country, if that's a thing. He's from Kansas. But anyways, I've always wanted to have him on the podcast. And I just reached out to him online. A friend of mine, Kenton Bryant, kind of connected us first, and then I reached out to him online, and he agreed to do it. If you haven't heard of his music, you should go check it out, Logan Mize. It's great country music. So what did I learn from Logan? First of all, I enjoy talking to people that I've never talked to before because it's just like, man, we could talk for hours. There's so much I want to know. So the first thing is it's pretty amazing, and it's pretty, consistent with successful songwriters and musicians, the fact that they've had to focus a good chunk of their life at their craft without a lot of return. So he was talking about, he's from Kansas, Clearwater, Kansas, I think. When he moved to Nashville, he got what's called a publishing deal pretty quickly. And a publishing deal is basically when a company hires you to write songs in which they pitch to major artists. And what they do is they give you what they call an advance. They'll give you $16,000 a year to write songs 5 days a week. And they'll pay that money up front. But if you ever get a hit, you have to pay it back with some of the money that you make. So it's not very much money, especially in today's world. But when he was in Nashville, and at that point in his life, he'd never made $16,000 a year. And there's a pretty funny clip that I posted on Instagram and YouTube where he says, when they told him they were going to pay him $16,000, he was like, "Dude, what am I going to do with $16,000 a year? That's more money than I've ever had." So I thought that was pretty interesting. But the point is that level of dedication to your craft, like being willing to not make a lot, or maybe even be in the red on what you really want to go after and do and try to be the best at, is kind of part of the process. I'm personally okay with being pretty good at multiple things. I don't need to be the best at anything because I enjoy doing multiple things. But if you want to be the best at something, and something especially as competitive as music and songwriting, you kind of got to dive in head first, like Logan did, and he found that early success, which really helped him. The next thing I learned from talking to him was how important authenticity is. When, in every songwriter's journey, especially if you're trying to make money, you're trying to write songs for these big artists. If Blake Shelton's recording an album, or George Strait, or whoever, you're trying to write for others, and that's good. But the bad thing is sometimes you lose track of who you really are and what your song should sound like and what they're about. You kind of fall into the machine of the whole thing. And what he found out is he ended up writing a bunch of songs just about Kansas and his life in Kansas. And, after he left Nashville, he realized that that's kind of what he's really good at. And even though he had cuts with like Billy Currington, for example, and other people, he the songs that connected the best with a lot of his audience ended up being songs that were straight from the heart and about his life, even though he comes from a super tiny town and not very populated place. So that level of, and I've found the same thing in my music, along the way. So he learned that same lesson. No matter what your art form, authenticity wins. The other cool thing about Logan that I think this is great about all entrepreneurs that are successful, whatever the field is he's designed his life. He's created the life that he dreamt of, and that's pretty cool from scratch. Like, that's mostly everybody fantasizes about that. Not everybody is willing to dive in headfirst and make $16,000 a year and, wake up 15 years later and actually be able to have that life. So it takes a lot of work and a lot of dedication, but I think it's inspiring to see people like him who've literally created a life to where he can live in his little hometown with his wife, who's also an amazing singer, songwriter, and have this freaking awesome life, man. I mean, we all only live once. Why not? Speaking of music, so first of all, go listen to Logan Mize, the interview. It's on all the podcast platforms, Apple, Spotify. It's also on YouTube. You can watch the full interview. I've also posted several clips. It was a good conversation. All right. So speaking of music, I released a new song that's called Wild As Me about a month and a half ago, I believe. And I haven't talked about it much on the podcast, mostly because I just forgot. But I've been releasing music now for about 5 years, 4 or 5 years, and I record in Nashville, and I release these songs, and we put a lot into them. My producers, all the players that play on them, whoever I wrote the songs with. Most of them I write by myself. This song I wrote by myself, and it's a really fun song with it's really country. It's kind of upbeat, be a good dance tune. Anyways, it's out everywhere. It's called Wild As Me. I'd appreciate it if you listen to it and share it, and follow me on Spotify, or wherever you listen to music, Apple Music, Pandora, wherever. Follow me. I got a bunch of tracks on there. I'm going to keep releasing music, and until you guys tell me to stop. So, all right. So I thought for this week, in terms of, I usually focus on mental health in the middle of this. I'm going to talk a little bit about goal setting. So a couple months ago, I posted my 2023 goals on Instagram, and I got a pretty potent response. People actually, I got a lot of messages, and I want to talk about it. So first of all, if you want to go see what I'm talking about, go to my Instagram and go back. I don't know. I think it was in December when I posted it. Maybe even November. It was a little early. It wasn't a New Year's resolution thing. It was literally, I was planning for 2023 and I posted it. Excuse me. And so I wanted to talk through that, because something that changed my life that happened about 7 years ago was when me and my wife decided that we need to sit down and write a life plan. That life plan. So because at the time, we liked our life, but we didn't really know where it was going. We were kind of flying by the seat of our pants. I had an amazing job, but we were living paycheck to paycheck. We're like, hey, what happened? We're starting to have kids. what happens late, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now? And someone who is, I come from my business background. You have to write plans basically every year, every quarter, every month. So I'm like, hey, why don't I take those same skills and apply them to our life? So anyways, on one sheet of paper in our backyard in Bozeman, Montana, we wrote a life plan that spanned from, physical health, mental health, relationships, finances, recreation, and on down the line, all the different areas of life. A lot of people, when they write this stuff, they focus on finances, but that's just one chunk of the pie. Your life is far deeper than that. So on one piece of paper, we wrote plans for all those things for, I think it was 10 years, 5 years, 3 years, and 1 year. And what happened was we were able then to use that as a lens for whatever the big decisions we were making. And actually what ended up happening is me leaving my job at Sitka Gear and moving the family back to Oregon, and starting a whole new professional life. Not an easy process. The only reason I had strength to do that is because I knew what the long-term vision was. So I knew that there was going to have to be short-term sacrifices to get there. So ever since then, I try to set yearly goals that fit within that larger picture. Now that larger picture changes or morphs slightly here and there, but for the most part, it's just making sure that I'm walking in the general direction that I want to be walking in. So for 2023, I'm just going to go through them with you guys. So again, I posted this on my Instagram. You can go check it out. So professionally, the goals that I set for 2023 is to grow each of my companies by 50% or more. Now, when I posted that, I got a message that says, that's not healthy. You're a bad family man. You're a bad person, blah, blah, blah. And I had to let the gentleman know that my companies are startups mostly. None of them are very mature. So 50% for a startup it's good, but it's not like you're trying to grow a company 50% that's been around for 20 years. That's different. Wouldn't recommend that. My companies, which I guess there's a few of them, I'm hoping to continue the trajectory that they've been on, which is about 50% plus or minus. I want to release at least 60 podcasts, which shouldn't be a problem, especially now that I'm doing these journals every week. I'm doing about 2 a week. And I'm falling into a pretty good cadence with those. I want to monetize YouTube, which actually isn't that easy, believe it or not. You have to monetize YouTube. You have to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time, and then you can monetize. I'm creeping up on the 4,000 hours of watch time with my new channel, and I'm on track to hit 1,000 subscribers this year. By the way, subscribe, help me out. But it's just a process. It's a brand new channel. We will get there. My plan is to release at least 6 new songs. I've already released 1. I got 1 more coming out probably next month, and then I'll have 4 more after that. So I'm going to have to go back to Nashville, record some new music, which would be exciting. So that's my professional goals. And the idea of this is if I accomplish those things, I will feel like I earned it, right? And you want them to feel a little bit out of reach. You don't want them to feel comfortable. And all those goals are those are stretches. So, all right. So now physical health, or just health altogether. As we've talked about before, I'm doing no alcohol for the year. My goal is to exercise 5 to 7 days a week. And that's not just walking or hitting my steps. That's actually a planned exercise, 30 minutes to an hour, 5 to 7 days a week. And I do a mix of cardio and sort of HIIT workouts and weights. I'm on the Mountain Tough wagon right now, using their app to do their minimal daily exercises. So that's pretty great. And I'm also doing jujitsu. So some mix of cardio, Mountain Tough, jujitsu is sort of my routine right now. And I've been hitting this no problem. I'm trying to make sure that I sleep on a schedule. My body, for some reason or the other, needs a lot of sleep. I go to bed at 9 o'clock at night, and I usually get up at about 6. And even if I go to bed at 10, I feel tired the next day. So that's just the way I'm wired. So I'm trying to stay pretty consistent on my sleep. I'm trying to eat clean and whole foods, organic as much as possible, which I am doing very well. I ate a lot of meat, a lot of vegetables, a lot of fruit. So that's been going well for me. I feel great. I also take my vitamins every day without fail. which helps me a lot. It seems like I get sick less too. I'm trying to read 2 books a month, which, to be honest with you, I did great in January. I've been a little bit lackluster the last couple weeks because the book I was reading this week kind of bored me. So I'm going to switch. I'm not going to say what book it was. But I'm going to get back on track there. Okay, so that's my health. No alcohol, exercise, sleep, eat clean, read more, period. All right, so financial, which is important, but not everything. Remember that. My wife and I are to the point where we want to start putting more into our kids' beginning of life fund. I'm purposely not saying college fund because they don't have to go to college if they don't want to. In fact, college is becoming less and less valuable. If they do want to go to college, they can use it for that. It's more of like a small diving board or a launch pad. It won't be a terrible amount because they're going to have to work, but it'll be enough to where they can comfortably transition into that portion of their life. And it's kind of our send-off, which I'm not looking forward to. This is really sad to talk about. We're going to be hiring a financial advisor, which will be fairly new to us. We've been winging it, so that's not good. And then I want to make one fairly substantial risky investment this year. And what that is, I can talk about maybe later, but I'm going to keep it private for now. But I'm going to be doing that because I think you got to have a diversified portfolio financially. You got to have some risky investments and you got to have some safe investments. And we have a mix of both. And all right. Lastly, on the relationship side, I really want to try to do more date nights with my wife for obvious reasons. She's a full-time teacher. I'm a full-time, entrepreneur, kind of have crazy schedules. I travel a lot. And, right now we're probably on a once every other month date schedule, which is pretty bad to stay connected to your partner. Pretty important to be connected. Oftentimes the only time we see each other is when we're like passing each other in the house, cooking dinner, doing laundry, wrangling kids. And I want to try to do better than that. And so I'm trying to take that on my shoulders. On a lighter note, I want to play with my kids more. I've noticed over the years that sometimes I get so caught up doing all the things I'm doing. My kids will be out there throwing a ball without me or, shooting their bows without me, or my daughter's into skateboarding. She wants me to skateboard. So my goal is to play more with them. So how am I doing that? I'm making sure that I proactively try to get involved with what they're into. So like my daughter's into skateboarding. Should I be skateboarding? Probably not, folks. I used to, but I'm 42. I shouldn't be skateboarding. So what did I do? I bought a longboard because a longboard I'm most likely not going to wreck on or try a kickflip. So my longboard gets here today and my daughter's so stoked to skateboard with me, and I am too. It's going to be super fun. Or like with my boys, one of my boys loves shooting bows, so that's not hard to talk me into. But my other boy loves throwing a football, which I was never a football player. I suck at football, but I've been learning how to throw a spiral, and I try to do that with them at least once a day. It's really important, and I've had my faults with that. I admit it. So those are my goals for 2023. And I'm going to do them. There's no choice. I have now podcasted them. I've posted them, and I'm going to hold myself accountable to them, and I will let you know if I fall short. So, if you haven't done it yet, some people say goals are bullshit, New Year's resolutions, whatever you want to call them. I don't think they're bullshit. I only think they're bullshit if you don't do them. So if you're going to say you're going to do it, you should follow through, because what happens, and it doesn't matter what other people think, but if you let yourself down from something that you commit to and you don't, you break a promise to yourself, that's way worse than letting other people down. Like the shame of that, it. So I've had to really work on this, but like trying to be disciplined enough to not break promises to yourself, I found to be pretty, it's like the ultimate gift. I don't know, or maybe that's the wrong word, but it just feels so good when you keep a promise to yourself. Because if you can keep a promise to yourself, you can keep a promise to somebody else. So highly recommend goals. Also, if you don't want to do them, that's your prerogative. I have to have them because I have to know which direction I'm pointed. All right. So on the physical health side this week, I've been doing my mountain tough. I did have a back injury that I was working through the last week, and I had my little skin things taken off, which I had stitches, so I wasn't able to do jujitsu because I had my stitches on my neck, et cetera, et cetera. Excuse. I still continued to do exercise, but I had to lay off the weights and stuff like that and the jujitsu. I'm back into my normal routine, mountain tough, minimal daily workout for 30 to 35 minutes, and then I do cardio for 30 minutes. And then 2 nights a week, I'm trying to do jujitsu. And then I also try to take walks. But that's not really what I want to talk about. But I am on track, so that's good. I feel stronger than ever. By the way, 2 months ago when I bought my pull-up bar, I could barely do 3 pull-ups. And I'm up to, I bet you I could do 40 today if I really put my mind to it. So I'm pretty proud of that. I've been doing pull-ups every day. All right. So what I really wanted to talk about was all this stuff I've been talking about in terms of trying to get my life together and trying to keep myself disciplined has been really magnified to me lately. So I had my cancer scare here a few weeks ago, which ultimately ended up being not too much of a scare other than in my mind. But one thing I didn't tell you guys is about 5 days later, a really good friend of mine was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And the person is only 42 years old, has kids, partner, a really cool life, otherwise healthy, good looking, really great person. This came out of nowhere, not very many symptoms. And man, I just, my heart goes out to their family, and we're trying to do whatever we can to help them. But what it's only further, I guess, magnified to me is the need to actually treat this life with respect. And it doesn't mean taking things too seriously or, not having fun or anything like that. But what it does mean is I just don't want to trash my body anymore. We're all playing a game of odds. You could do all the right things with your body and your health and your life and still get hit by a train or be diagnosed with cancer or whatever. Like there's this game of odds we're all playing, but you can up your odds of having, a longer life. There's no guarantees, but I guess for me, it's like, if I have a chance of upping my odds, I'm going to take that chance. I might hit the same walls, I know, but I'm going to take that chance. So this idea of really focusing on getting my life together, staying disciplined, eating well, sleeping well, exercising, being present with my kids. Like, you could wake up tomorrow, I could wake up tomorrow and get that same diagnosis. None of us are immune from it. And it's really scary, and it has real world impacts to everybody around you. So the message to me has been, and I've been thinking about this a lot, it's really been tearing at me because I feel so awful for what they're going through. And I wish there was more that I could do or the medical system could do. But it's just, we have the opportunity, those of us that are healthy, to treat our lives with respect. And that's what I plan on doing. And, if someday the same happens to me, that happened to my friend, then I guess so be it. But at least I tried to really appreciate every day and realize how temporary everything is and how finite it all is. And it's scary and sad, but it also really illuminates and makes everything more colorful. Just, even little things like the sun on your face, or breathing in fresh air, or laughing with your spouse, or throwing a football with your kids. Like, those moments aren't guaranteed, and we would normally take them for granted. But I think when you can get into this headspace of, this is all temporary. I need to enjoy this. I need to utilize it to my best ability and do the best I can with what I have. Then it kind of changes your perspective. And I guess I'm at the point in my life where maybe things like this are going to start happening, unfortunately, but I'm going to try to do my best with it. So for whatever it's worth, I know it's kind of sad to talk about, but I do think there's some things we can take away that may help us in our own lives. And I just pray for my friend and their family. And I hope that we can all get through this together. And I'm staying positive. All right. So, and if anybody else is going through that battle with a friend or family, feel free to reach out. But I guess, I don't know, guys, we need to enjoy life more than we do. I think we all, it's just, there's a bunch of bullshit to focus on that is meaningless. So with that said, I hope you guys go out and enjoy your weekend, get some fresh air, get outside, and spend time with your family and your friends, laugh, watch the Super Bowl. Not a big football fan, but I'm going to watch the Super Bowl because I like being around my family, my friends, and eating elk nachos. So I'm going to do that. Make sure you go subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Altitude Show on YouTube. Also, spread the word about the podcast. It means the world to me. I hope you guys have an amazing, amazing weekend. We'll talk next week. Next week on the podcast, I believe I'm probably going to release my friend Trail Kreitzer. Trail Kreitzer is an amazing hunter and friend of mine. And I learned actually a former biologist, so I learned a lot from him. So we will see you next week. Peace.